Today we're introducing Geronimo Stilton. These books are perfect for grade 3 to 4. Some of them are all the way up to grade 5 for vocabulary and reading level. If you had a very, very advanced second grader, all the way up to 5th grade, this would be a good book series for you. Now, one reason they are so good for readers, and beginner readers especially, is because there are so many books in the series. Now, they are something I strongly encourage and discourage depending on your reading style and interest level. For instance, I originally did not like the Geronimo Stilton books because of the way they were written. I was looking for books that would be appropriate for someone in an ESL classroom in the 5th grade. And these books were a little too challenging for some of my students. And then I didn't like how some of the vocabulary was mouseified. So they would change something from like museum to mouseum. And I thought, as I was looking at it as an adult, I don't really know if this would be great for ESL students. However, after having taught using the books for quite a few years now, I begin to really appreciate just the value that they provide. There are a bunch of different kinds of books, from the original books just about Geronimo Stilton, and then they involve his sister Thea, and books more designed towards girls and girl adventures. There are the Geronimo Stilton Return to the Kingdom of Fantasy, his Fantasy Kingdom series. And so these books are a little longer. They've got a bunch of little crafts or mazes or different things to do. I found a bunch of students got really into Geronimo Stilton through using the graphic novels. These are about Geronimo Stilton and Adventures Through Time, the Time Cat adventures, where he's got to go through time and just stop things from going horribly wrong and save the universe as we know it. Now, one advantage that I came to realize about the Geronimo Stilton books is that original problem I had with it, which was some of the words are changed to sound more like a mouse. So Leonardo da Vinci becomes Leonardo da Mousa or something like that. So I'm quickly checking the book. And I was like, do I want to put this in? Now, what I do like is that the book gives you the history if you want to know it. Normally they'll put a little, in later books, they'll put a little note at the bottom saying, this is what the word actually is. Here's an explanation. You don't have to read those, but if you wanted to, they would be great. Why I appreciate this for younger students or for people who are learning English, though, is that it makes the word not important. Now, why is that good? Well, if you have actual places, Des Moines, Iowa, how do you say that? Or Leonardo da Vinci. But if you change it to something that is not actually real, there's not as much importance in getting the pronunciation perfectly correct. So you really wouldn't feel the need to stop a student or a child and be like, hey, that's actually New York? Whereas if it is the actual word, you're going to want to do that because someone saying a word or a name horrifically wrong is something that you would need to correct. Whereas if they're saying the Mona Mousa, who cares? So it's actually good in that regard. What I like about the books is that they do include a great deal of vocabulary, and they will push students to continue to achieve. There's also a ton of stories about at the same level. So if you're able to engage with one, even though it's a little bit tough, because there's so many stories, you can get into the series and then become much more familiar with a lot of the vocabulary, because it does repeat around the same level throughout most of the books. There are also different levels. Like I said, the Fantasy Kingdom adventures are a bit thicker and have more reading to do. The original stories are about 100 to 120 pages and not too much on each page. So these would be good for, again, a very advanced second grade student, good on level for third and fourth, and then all the way up to fifth or sixth grade, depending on how fluent your English is. A bunch of people ask, should my child or should this student be reading something that isn't as educational? And for this, I say, yes. Because reading is just about doing it, being able to read, finding something that you enjoy, and then building upon that. Now, do you want someone reading only super fun stories? Maybe not, but if you're developing their vocabulary, their English level, and their brain skills that reading does, then sure, this is a great series for that, because it does visit real life locations and times in history, and you can learn about those or become connected with those, and it engages very well. Another reason I originally wasn't so sure about this series was how on each page there's several words that are written in a funny font or in a different color or way bigger or smaller than other words. And as an adult, I originally was like, ugh, not great for beginner readers. But for someone who is at an intermediate reading level, this is perfect. And for using English in the real world, you are going to deal with different font sizes anyway, different colors, different shapes. And so being able to practice that as a reader, reading something enjoyable and fun is just a great opportunity to improve. Now, another reason I appreciate Geronimo Stilton is because there are online resources. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I am a huge fan of being able to find it online. Now, I don't mean that all of your reading should just be watching videos. However, it does really help if you have some videos to connect with reading to further engage with students or young children. Geronimo Stilton has a cartoon series that was made based on the characters, and so you can see everybody, learn how things sound, figure out some of the vocabulary, and then there are different sites that you could visit where you're able to draw some things of your own, write your own article for the newspaper, or just read, find out what other people are reading, and view the catalog, because, whoa, there are a ton of books in the Geronimo Stilton series. So, which one did you like? What is something you liked or disliked about the books? And if you were going to recommend someone to read this, what age do you think would be best for Geronimo Stilton? I personally am going to say that Geronimo Stilton is the beginning of intermediate level, and so if you can read this by third grade or the end of third grade, great. If you are able to read this in fourth grade, you're probably on level, and then by fifth grade, hopefully you're able to do it. But again, no matter where you're at your reading, no matter where you are at in your reading journey, this is a good series to get into and to push you towards being able to read and understand more.